Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and in today's video I'm going to show you the one true ram god of World of Tanks. It's the heaviest medium in the game, the one, the only, the E50M. Now, I first wanted to create the ultimate ramming medium tank when I saw that the E50M and all of the assault medium tanks get the most bizarre 8th field mod in the game, and that is called reinforced joints. What reinforced joints do is they lower your view range, they make your dispersion when you're turning your gun worse, but they increase the ramming damage that you deal, reduce the ramming damage that you receive, and they increase your engine power to be able to get into those kind of situations. This got the wheels slowly turning in my mind in how can I add to this 8th field mod with the E50M to make it truly spectacular. Well, of course, I've got to try and bump up the hit points as much as possible, even if it makes my aim time worse. A ram god does not care about being spotted, so we're going to lower our concealment, which makes the concealment on this tank pretty much as bad as a heavy, but we're going to have better suspension repair speed and better reverse speed as well. And I'm even going to sacrifice the flexibility of the vehicle when it has a damaged engine, or its ammo rack, or its gun is broken to increase the traverse speed. Next, I was thinking to myself, what kind of equipment would I want to take with the E50M? Well, firstly, I'm going to go for a generic setup. Gun rammer, vents inside a survivability slot, and a turbo. This is going to make it fast, but it's also going to have the most DPM possible for those kind of sniping games. Sure, you're not going to have the best view range because of the loss of coated optics, and you're not going to have the best gun handling without vertical stabilizers, but this is still a very solid setup for the E50M that you could play normally without necessarily trying to just ram everything. Then I decided, what would I do with the second slot of equipment? And what I wanted to do is drop the gun rammer, because the E50M has one of the lower damage per minutes in the game, and instead use a medium spall liner. What this does is it reduces the amount of damage that you take from rams by 60%, as well as high explosive damage dealt to your vehicle, and it protects your crew from injuries and also from stuns. And I thought to myself, well, if I can get 60% protection to my crew, why not then drop the med kit as well and use 105 octane gasoline? Now, this is an expensive consumable, so this is definitely not free to play. But with this kind of a setup, which I use when I see there's lots of artillery on the enemy team, this vehicle has a stonking power to weight ratio of over 24. So without further ado, ladies and gents, let's put the ram god to the test. Okay, so we're loading in on mines, and as you can see with our equipment and consumable selection, because there's a self-propelled gun on the enemy team, I've chosen to use the spall liner and I've chosen to use the fuel. This will give us a ludicrous power to weight ratio, which I need to be able to get up on the hill, but unfortunately for me, the 1-to-1 hardlines me into the building, adding several seconds to our quest to be able to get up on top of the hill and hopefully get a crunch engagement on one of the vehicles that is trying to get up there. Just look at how this thing is getting up this slope. 45 up a hill, even though this is meant to be one of the slower heavy tanks. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mr. 121, you blocked me early on. I have to be able to get up on this hill, and I know you want to just sit there, hold down, and grind. We took a little bit of damage getting up there, but I don't think the enemies expected the mobility of this vehicle to just waltz through that line of fire. And of course, the E50M, it's still a very heavily armored tank, so we block 1,390 damage as we're managing to get up there. And I just stop, aim at the T-54, manage to get that shell into the back, take a look back at where the artillery is, and laugh at the fact that I believe a near direct hit from a tier 10 self-propelled gun deals 163 damage. Yeah, you can see just what a spall liner inside a survivability slot will be able to achieve. But remember, I'm not taking that spall liner specifically to be able to avoid the damage from the artillery. I'm taking the spall liner so I can free up a consumable slot, because the spall liner will help massively protect our crew from injuries. And I genuinely think that the 10% engine power on this vehicle, especially on a map like this when you're trying to race to be able to get into a position, can be far more important than actually taking a med kit when you're using the spall liner and you only have maybe like a 40% chance for your crew to be damaged. Just take a look at the mobility of this thing, the way it's able to swing round now and get into position. And unfortunately, it looks like this VZ55, I guess he wanted to be able to use this position. Okay, well, you know what? I was genuinely worried at this moment. You see, I zoom out a little bit there because I was thinking the VZ-55 was going to try and push me down the slope. But okay, mate, if you want to have that position so much, you can. And I can't believe I did this yesterday in the Jagdtiger 88, but I'm also now going to do it in the E50M. A few spins, maybe for luck, possibly. You can see how little fun I have playing World of Tanks these days, right? That I'm obviously having to just drive in circles for my own amusement. You can see how hard I try inside the game, right? Instead of actually looking for the shells, I'm just there showing off the mobility of the vehicle. But still, it is absolutely ridiculous in that regard. So now we are up a couple thousand hit points on our opponents, and hopefully I'm going to be able to get into these bushes and be able to catch their Char Future 4. Unfortunately, I've got a heat round loaded now. That makes me wince. I don't want to have to be wasting these gold rounds on these pesky French vehicles. But you can see what I'm thinking, right? Oh dear. Well, if I am the Ram God, how can I not do this? Yes. That's right, 1,506 damage dealt to the FV4005 from above. 356 of that was our shot, and 1,150 was a clear crush from above. Okay, so pretty silly scenario here, but we still managed to do 3,200 damage, of which half of that was that final ram and shunt. We also managed to get a bit of assistance here. Definitely not the most intelligent thing to do, but I'm usually playing my E50M for the fun anyway. Okay, so now that I've shown you that the E50M can ram vehicles as hard as the FV4005 can shoot with its armor-piercing rounds, let's set up our E50M again for a game on Minsk. This time, there's no artillery on the enemy team, so I'm going to drop the Spoliner that I had previously, and I'm just going to go for the gun rammer, vents, and the turbo setup. That means that I will take more damage when I ram vehicles, but in a matchup like this, where most of the enemy vehicles weigh the same as me, or if not, they actually weigh less than me, I'm not really too worried about the kind of ram damage that I'm going to receive. Alright, so in this kind of a scenario, it's a beautiful matchup against tier 8 tanks, and what I really want to do is just get right to the front and start to pressure my opponents. When you can manage to ram a tank, even a heavy tank, for 500 to 1,000, if you manage to get a clean ram in it, that is, with the build that we have on this vehicle, it kind of means that the DPM doesn't really matter so much. If I see something that's on 1,000 hit points and I feel like I can get a clean ram into it and also manage to shoot it once or hopefully twice, then I'm definitely going to be securing the kill on that tank. We don't have the engine power because we're not using the 105 octane gasoline on this vehicle this time, but nevertheless, the E50M with the full field mods to be able to increase the engine power and the turbo and some good crew skills, it's definitely no slouch. Alright, so the UDES 14.5 manages to get a good old clap into my vehicle, and unfortunately I don't quite manage to reload in time to be able to put the second shot in. Yes, I do realize, and I really hope you are all noticing, how hard I am trying to ignore the fact that there are the enemy girls in this tank. They're in there, but you know, to complete the meme dream. Because when you're driving around a 60-ton vehicle, it's definitely best to put it in the hands of 15-year-old girls that just have absolutely no fear, right? And when I play the E50M, I try to embrace the inner 15-year-old girl. That sounds bizarre. Let's not go there. You get what I'm trying to say. I tried to play this vehicle as if I have no fear. Talk about no fear. Woo! That was a clutch shot round the corner at the UDES 14.5. I guess that player thought they were getting the ambush on us, but they didn't have the drop on the E50M. Maybe we're not ramming the UDES quite yet, or possibly. I'm not going to spoil the replay, but we're still able to get some darn decent claps in. And oh dear, here we go. We've got a Kampfpanzer in front of us, we've got a Pershing to the left of us, and the enemy tanks are just ricocheting off us to the left and to the right. And my god, these anime girls don't shut up. Alright, okay, so Pershing right in front. We're going to put a shot right to the top right-hand corner of his turret. And I'm going to just side scrape out now. Because, you know, this vehicle, While you can set it up in this way, it doesn't really hamper the rest of the vehicle's combat performance. It's not like if you decide to put these field mods on and use this equipment on this tank, that it's not going to be able to do the other aspects that the vehicle does so well. In fact, my DPM in the E50M right now is as good as any E50Ms is going to be, unless of course you're using Bond or Bounty equipment. Alright, so we start off our Ram God replay with 274 damage to a Pershing. Not very impressive, but when you do realize that thing weighs like 40 or 45 tons, it's not bad for a medium tank with that tiny little collision to be able to already start stacking it up. This Kampfpanzer is trying to get away from me as quickly as they possibly can, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and we managed to shut down the Kampfpanzer. So remember, I've made my camo rating really bad, so you'll see that I'm actually being quite careful, and I'm not going to go near the corner. I'm going to try and go to the edge of the map, because I really might need every single meter of distance between me and my opponents to be able to avoid them spotting me. That 3% reduction in concealment probably takes this thing down to a moving concealment of maybe like 12% or something. It is truly horrific, there's no doubt about that. And it would probably be more sensible to try and take the concealment on this vehicle, I think, rather than the reverse speed. But you know what? When you're trying to make the Ram God, you can't worry about those kind of things, right? You don't have to worry about your opponent spotting you. They should be worried about the fact that you're trying to get as quickly as possible into close quarters combat. So the E50M here with this lovely engine power just whizzing along. It's a 60-ton tank going along at 60 kilometers an hour now. This is something that I showed with my AMX50B video several months ago now, or at least a couple of months ago now. And it's just so bizarre to me that vehicles that are this heavy just manage to have so much engine power and get up to speed. Unfortunately, this guard may be trying to protect the corner of the map, but they are not going to be protecting the corner of the map for very long. Yes, that's 897 damage dealt and only 50 damage received for the collision. Those are some trades. We literally are just bumping him there, and we do an additional 80 damage, and then 6 damage on top of that, which now puts our total ram damage this game up to 1,257. Alright, so not exactly the Ram God of Destiny, right? You might be thinking there like, oh, well, QB, I've seen you do more than this in the 50B. What's so special about the 50M? It's the fact that this thing's a medium tank. Alright, well, I tell you what. If that's not stupid, if I'm not playing in a stupid enough way, alright, you've seen me literally cliff dive off against an FV4 005. What is the one tank in World of Tanks that you don't want to ram? Yes, there it is. It's the mouse. The mouse on my left. Okay, look, if I need to truly prove that the E50M is the alpha ramming god of World of Tanks, there's only one way, surely, that I can prove it. And that is that we're going to have to ram the mouse. Warning, I would just like to clarify. This is an absolutely terrible idea, and you'd have to be a complete moron to play World of Tanks like this. In this situation, I have a lovely sniping spot, and while my shell is in the air, spoilers, it's not going to quite interrupt the defender, even though it looks like it's going directly, well, I guess above his tank. In this scenario, what I really should do is go and side scrape on this corner, interrupt the cap circle, and play properly. But I'm playing my E50M, and unfortunately for me, that just won't slide. Okay then, miss the defender. Let's go, Mr. Mouse. What's up? One shot, 374 hit points left. Okay. We win. We win. We rammed the mouse to death. 374 damage dealt to the mouse. And I only take 1,017. Yeah, probably not the best trades in World of Tanks history. But at this kind of stage, what more is there to prove? The E50M unequivocally is the ramming god of World of Tanks. I don't think I've ever seen a mouse take so much ramming damage, apart from when it's dropping onto things. Alright, so we've got 22 hit points left. So far, we are up to 1,631 ramming damage. Let's see if we can make slightly better trades with our remaining 22 hit points than we did against the mouse. And boom! How much was that? 733 ramming damage for our final 22 hit points against a tier 9 Czechoslovakian heavy tank. It's unbelievable to me that a vehicle like this can ram a very substantial heavy tank for a third of its hit points, putting our final ram damage total to 2,364. So unfortunately, even though we dealt 7,921 damage for our 4 kills in this game, it wasn't enough to get an ace tanker. I guess that's because we died and we were dealing damage to low tier tanks, for the most part, until the end. Still, there's something unbelievably magical by mousing over and seeing that you're taking out the entirety of enemy tanks with 2 shots against the guard. We dealt 1,144 damage with a single ram and a shot against a VZ-51. Let's not forget that FV-4005. 1,506 damage with a single shot, albeit about 60 tons 10 meters from above. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give you something that you do not see very often, and that was a mouse destroyed by ramming with over 350 hit points. And so all in all, do I think this is probably the most competitive way to set up your E50M? That's dubious. If you play like this quite often, you're going to get yourself absolutely wrecked. There's no doubt about it. But with practice, patience, and not just diving on absolutely every opportunity like a complete moron, but still having that awesome ramming damage potential as a weapon that maybe your opponents don't realize, with thoughtful and conscientious thought, this build is actually disgustingly fun to play. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this fun video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Sunday, I'm live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And later on today, there will be a Kranvang tech tree showcase. So come along as I show arguably the best tier 10 tank in the game, if not the best tier 10 heavy tank, as we transition from today's video of playing a ram god to definitely playing the hull down god of World of Tanks. And so I really hope all of you tune in. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.